shall I welcome everyone here?
Go for it.
Well, welcome to the Aging in Place Network. We're live now with Tech that Transforms Aging, and we're happy to have you. I'm Eve Hill of Customized Aging with Heather Brooks of Customized Aging, Amy Roberts of the Senior Strategist, and we're here with a guest speaker, Rafe Needleman, who is a seasoned technology journalist who also happens to be my brother. And he's he's been into technology and until that since we were kids and playing Pong and watching Star Trek reruns. And so now he's at the top of his game. He's worked for a lot of the companies, Maker Media, CNET, Cisco. He's interviewed CEOs of many, many startups, written columns, and he's starting a new job tomorrow at Allison and Partners as a senior VP of editorial for technology. Is that what it is?
Technology content. That's right.
Technology content. So thanks, Ray, for coming, and let's hear what you have to say about tech.
Anything I can do to help the family.
Yay, thank you.
Ours and every other one out there as well.
Aww.
So, thanks for setting this thing up. And this is a really interesting topic. And I do want to talk about technology advances and answer questions. But to start, what I want to do is make a super important point about the benefits and the dangers of technology kind of balancing out. In the world of technology research, people understand that all technology is dual use, which means it can be used for good or for bad, like nuclear power, for good or for bad, for power or for destruction. And we really need to watch out for the bad guys when it comes to technology, because the outcomes can be really damaging. So before we get into technology, I want to talk about one of the big dangers, which are scams. Now, as you pointed out, one of your writings, the FBI says that in 2021, there were over 92,000 older adults who were victimized by scams. The total loss was over $1.7 billion. And that's up from the previous year. So what can we do about this? And this is mostly an education problem. Most scams rely on a well-known bag of tricks, so it's not too difficult to get educated about what those are. And some of the scams build slowly. The scammer either gets the victim to send them a little bit of money at first and then more later, or the scammer gets access to accounts by convincing the victim to give up access keys like passwords. But one of the really worst parts of these scams is that embarrassment can prevent a person from asking for help until it's way too late. People can realize that they're being taken, and then they feel so ashamed of being duped that they don't tell anyone in time. So the first thing I want to be clear on when we're trying to educate adults or anybody is that scammers are really smart at manipulating our emotions. That's what they do. That's what a scam is. They do this for a living, and none of us can expect to be as good as deflecting their manipulations as they are at manipulating. And there's no shame in being robbed by a professional who does this for a living. The appropriate reaction is anger, not shame. And that realization can help people act more quickly than if they're trying to hide the fact that they've been taken. So we can talk about how people get duped a lot or convinced to send money. And there are many known scams. There's the fake impending lawsuit scam, the fake lottery scam, the fake grandchild who needs help getting out of jail scam, and of course the tech support scam, which I've written about, which is kind of fun, except that it cost 14,000 people over $240 million in 2021. That's a really bad one. That's where, your computer is broken. This is Microsoft. It's not Microsoft. Your computer's not broken. But what I want to focus on right now is the mechanics of sending money, because that's where a lot of the scams all converge. So anytime anyone is asked to send money in a way that is new to them, it should be a gigantic tip-off. No legitimate business in the world needs to be paid in Apple gift card numbers or cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, at least not right now. If that happens, the only correct thing to do is to disengage from the process completely and immediately. And for scams that come in text or email, they all usually start with links. And the thing to tell people is never to click those links. That is the beginning of a lot of problems. A lot of scam links look benign and they look good. If you know what a good link looks like, you can still even be fooled. like some will do things like spell Wells Fargo, a bank, Wells Fargo with ones instead of L's. So you click on that and you're at a scammer site and it looks just like Wells Fargo, and you put in your password and they're off to the races, and you're not. And links can also even be personal. Like, hang on a second. Links can also be personal. Like, I got one the other day that was from the CEO of the company I worked for, or looked like it was, and it said, "I'm in a hurry and I need your special expertise because I'm about to go into a sales meeting. Please text me back immediately." It was really convincing, and it was from a number that looked legit, like it was in my area code, but it wasn't. It was called phishing with a PH. If you ever see that, that's what it's about. It's customized, very targeted scam messages coming straight. It looks like they're coming straight to you, but they're not. They're automated, and it's really dangerous because the difference between what looks like a real scam and a phishing communication can be kind of subtle. So again, don't click links. If you get a message from what looks like your bank, go to the bank website yourself, www.bank.com, and go there, go through that way instead of clicking on the link, because the link can be fraudulent even though it looks legit, even though you have a relationship with that bank. So also phone numbers can be spoofed. They can look like they're coming from your own area code, even your own prefix, the first 3 numbers of your phone number in your area code, and they can be really convincing. So what do? You got something that you're not sure if it's legit, you probably think it's a scam, and you're tempted to call them back or to say, "I know you're a scam." Never do that. The best way to handle a scammer is to just disengage, like, immediately. Hang up, ignore, go silent, forget about it. It's not worth the effort, and the more time you spend engaged with the scammer, the more likely you are to give something up, or even in some cases make them angry, in which cases they have ways to get back at you that are really nasty. And I'll talk about one of those if you guys are curious. It's really an amusing way for scammers to get back at you for trying to get back at them. Okay, all of this is a lot. It's a lot. Which brings up the really important question of how do you talk to people? How do we talk to our parents, other grown-up adult people that we know, our customers, our clients, about these topics? And I've written about how adults can talk to their parents about tech support, and a lot of the same advice applies for this topic. And it can be difficult to follow all this because a lot of what we're talking about here is really emotionally loaded. And if you're curious about it, it's on my technology etiquette blog, callercallsback.com, where I write about this and other, tech communication issues. And the first thing to remember, though, is that a lack of familiarity with technology or tech-based scams is nothing reflection of the ability of the person who's getting scammed ultimately to understand the issues. It's a lack of experience, not a lack of intelligence or ability to understand. Aging does not make people technology illiterate. It just makes them inexperienced. A lot of people of all ages, from 1-year-olds to 99-year-olds, use technology at a very highly adept level. This is not the issue. Technology, though, is a language itself, and it can be hard to understand it if you've never spoken it before or if you're not fluent in it. So those of us who are trying to explain these things have to take the time to explain this stuff, and you absolutely have to constantly check that you are being understood. A lot of times when people are hearing something they don't understand, they will shut down, and you can keep talking, but they're not hearing, or you lost them 10 sentences 10 minutes ago, and they're just going, right, and they're not getting. You have to constantly check in. And remember the saying that we use in tech, or teachers use all the time. If you can't explain it, you probably don't understand it yourself. So study up before you teach things. I'm going to take a little pause there to let some of that sink in, see if there's any feedback on that before I talk about a couple of really important technologies that are relevant to what I just discussed.
Everybody have questions, please open up your mic and feel free to ask Rafe.
Thanks. So, should I keep going?
Well, I'll start with the tiny question I had, and that was about that you got a text from someone who is the CEO of your company.
Mm-hmm. Well, it
And
said it was from the CEO of my company.
Oh, so it said this is the CEO of your company?
Yeah,
Or-
it said, this is Chuck Robbins, the CEO of Cisco, where I
Oh,
was working until recently. I need your urgent help on something that you're expert in. I forget what it was exactly. Please text me back immediately. I can't take a call.
so you knew that what was a scam because it was asking you to do something really fast? Or how did you know something that subtle was a scam?
Well, first of all, I've been a tech journalist for many years, so I have a very high filter for that. And it just, Chuck Robbins is the CEO of a 70,000 person, multi-billion dollar global company. He doesn't even know I freaking exist. There's no way he would be texting me. And it's like, so I just thought, this can't be right. But because he's a CEO and I was an employee at the time, and I thought I really wanted to help him, this will make me look good to the boss's boss, right? So it's like, oh yeah, I want to help. I want to be a superstar for the big boss. That's what this was playing on. That's why this particular kind of phishing, this is a well-known fish. I looked it up right after this. It was like, text from the CEO. It's like, oh yeah, I Googled it and it was like all over the place. It's a really common and very effective scam because it plays on that desire to help and to show off, right? But I just ignored it, and I didn't get fired, and Chuck didn't call my boss. It was nothing. It was a scam, and it's one of dozens or hundreds of scams which play on your emotions, which make you want to bypass your critical filters and go straight to the source and say, yes, I'm going to help. And had I continued, the scam probably would have been, send me some file, with confidential information, or I need access to the account, I can't get in. Can you get me on the internal network, which would have opened up the scammer to all the confidential information inside the company. It could have been really bad. And that's what it does. It bypasses all the checks and balances, straight to the source, your bank, your company, your health insurance records. I don't know why people would want that, but they do, and you're screwed.
Now, did you feel like did you communicate that you had been tried to be scammed to your colleagues at Cisco? Because maybe they were trying to do that to other people to give them a heads up, or you feel like everybody's kind of going to figure that out?
Well, no, I didn't. And in fact, our company and many companies have what's called red teams. And what red teams do is they try to get people to fall for scams. Just to find the weaknesses. And, generally, if you get caught in that, there's generally no penalty, but it's an alert to the people in security at the company that people aren't sufficiently educated about network or cybersecurity, and we need to, give people, a refresher course on what scams look like. All right, moving on.
Can I ask a question?
Hello, yes, of course, Ellen.
Sure. So I've gotten 2 emails over the past probably 6 months from someone that I kind of know, but not really know, but somehow their email was, please contact me. I need your help, blah, blah, blah. And I realized red flag. Now I contacted them for them to change their password. Should I
Yes.
also have changed my password? That is my question.
That is a really good question. I think you did what was appropriate and necessary, and you didn't need to do any more. So I've seen this happen a lot in friends' Facebook accounts. Their Facebook accounts get hacked and they start sending really weird messages to their friends. And it's like, this is not Joe. Joe would never say this. And then, 2 days later, you get a message from Joe. Hey friends, my Facebook account was hacked. Please don't respond to anything that came from me in the last couple of days. And then they get it resolved. That means that their account was hacked. It doesn't mean your account was hacked. So you did the right, in that particular case, unless people send you a message on email or through another channel, hey, what is this weird thing that you sent me? Then that's a flag that maybe you've been hacked. But if you didn't get that, then that doesn't sound like you yourself were hacked, just your friend.
Great. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. All right, I'm going to move on with passwords because everybody loves passwords. So actually, I have written here, everybody hates passwords. So I stand corrected. Passwords are super important, and there's a few things that we really need to pay attention to with them to keep our experiences secure. And the first number one cardinal rule of passwords, which a lot of people ignore and a lot of people think is something completely different, is not all your passwords have to be 16 characters long and have weird things and emoticons and all that stuff in them. That is not the key to password security. The key to password security is to never, ever, ever, ever reuse a password. And the reason for that is because password databases get hacked. So if I have a password on my bank, say 1234 is the password, which is a terrible password, but if that was my password, and then that password database gets hacked, and I'm using 1234 on my bank here and also on my, say my 401k there, then not only have they got the password to one financial account, but they've got the password to another and maybe social media and maybe other stuff, and I'm toast. Never, ever reuse passwords. It's just not worth it. But the problem is, how are we going to remember? How do any of us remember all the different passwords now that I'm telling you have to have? And obviously the answer to that is you write them down on a piece of paper, which is a terrible idea because you lose that piece of paper or somebody steals that piece of paper and then you're doubly screwed again. Sorry, in trouble again. So this is the solution to this is what's called a password manager. And there are a bunch of them. There's one built into Apple's ecosystem, the Macintosh and the iPhone. And there also are a couple of really, really good ones out there that you can get separately. I like 1Password, the number 1Password. And what these things are these vaults. And you protect them with one single password, which is really long and you remember it because it's the only password you need to remember. And then these both create and fill out your passwords for you as you go to these different sites. And all your passwords are different. And they're not even words at this point because you have a machine creating passwords for you. So they're all gobbledygook to you and me, but they're strong passwords and they're all completely different. And that is the way to go. Now, of course, if 1Password or Macintosh or any of these password systems like LastPass or whatever they are gets hacked, then we're really in big trouble. But this is entrusting your passwords to a company and a system that is designed only to protect your passwords, and they're pretty dang secure. There is another way, a level of protection on top of that, which is not too difficult for people, which is called two-factor authentication, where many systems, especially financial systems and popular social media systems, will ask if you want to turn on the system where every time you log into a new device, it will send you a code on your phone or ask you to enter a code from an application that you have. And that one-time code is just a second level of security that even if your password itself is hacked, if they don't have your phone, in theory, they won't be able to get into your account. So when that is offered, turn that on. So password managers enable two-factor authentication. Do not rely on a piece of paper or your head remembering them or changing every password like Bank Wells Fargo or Bank Fidelity or whatever it is. That doesn't work either because those systems, everybody uses those systems and they're well known and they get hacked as well.
Yeah, Cindy Taylor said I use LastPass.
LastPass is good. LastPass is a competitor to 1Password. There's another one, Dashlane, I think. They're all cryptographically very strong and they're all good solutions. So one of the big issues when we talk about all these digital assets is digital estate planning. Now, it's very true that for financial accounts, the financial industry figured out what to do with your assets and resources when people die or become incapacitated a long time ago, and it has nothing to do with technology. If I pass away, my 401k bank provider knows that I have a beneficiary who gets my assets on my death. Whether that is all online or on paper in an old bank or whatever, that's handled. But we also have these new digital assets that are not financial. We have photographs, I have, I think, 180,000 photographs in my Apple Photos, and that's not a lot. We have files, we have audio recordings, home movies, all of this stuff is digital. We have our social media presence. And when we pass, that can be lost forever. People can be locked out of that, and those photos could be lost. My child would never see these photographs because he can't access them anymore. So
Does this go for the same as crypto? Like if that were to happen and you own crypto?
oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
That's like that's a pretty penny
right.
being lost.
It could be. It's less of a pretty penny now than it was like 6 months ago, but that's a different story. So let's talk about that in a minute, but I want to get into the social accounts for a second here, because there is a way to protect yourself on those. And most of the major systems, like Google, Apple, Facebook, etc., have programs that let you set up what happens to an account when its holder passes. And it's much better if you configure those now, because you won't be able to later. For example, Apple lets you set up what's called a legacy contact, where you can designate somebody, a relative or a close friend or spouse, to have access to your Apple data, like photos and mail, after you die. Now, when you do pass, there's a whole system, because Apple's really particular about this, about how they authenticate that. But then that person has access to some, but not all, of your digital assets. So they can figure out what to do with your email archives and your photographs and your files. Facebook has this thing called a memorial page, or a page can become memorialized, where your entire Facebook stream gets locked down and it says in memory of, or something like that. And nobody can make any changes to it. People can post remembrances, but that's it. If you have set up a legacy contact for Facebook, then then somebody can then maybe change the photo or pin a note on the top saying, our dear mother has passed, please enter your remembrances here, or something like that, and do a few other things. Most of the major systems have a way to designate a legacy contact, and you really should do that while you can. Getting back to the crypto issue, that's kind of a password issue. And one of the things you might want to do is, if you're using a password manager and you have your cryptocurrency passwords, like your Bitcoin or Coinbase or whatever it is you're using to store your cryptocurrency in, you want to have a way to pass that on to somebody else. And since the only thing that can give people access to what could be a lot of money is that password, you have to find a way to do that in a way that is secure, that can't be stolen before you die, etc. And that can be complex. That's almost one of the things I might recommend leaving with a lawyer, because that's just a password. If I have a password to your, Coinbase account, I have access to your data. Not to get too into the weeds here, but a lot of that stuff is also two-factor protected as well as password protected. So even if I have your password and you die and the lawyer has the password and I have access to it from the lawyer and I get the password and then it's two-factor protected, still might not be enough to get in. So you really have to think about, you have to work with an estate planner. And there are some, I think, who are becoming better and better at dealing with digital estates, to figure out how to make sure that your assets are protected now and can be passed on later. And it's not sometimes as simple as we want it to be. Anything else before I move on to?
I just want you to know that I went onto my legacy contact and I'm uploading my legacy contact right now. I had no idea that they had this feature. So
Yeah,
thank you.
It's a thing. Hopefully you won't need it for another, 50 or 60 years. And by then, who knows, this stuff will all be implanted in our brain. So I want to talk about the best new technology for all of us, and aging adults included. I'm going to get into that in a second if I can move on. We cool with that? Yeah, Heather?
Certainly,
Yeah.
if anybody has questions, jump right in.
All right, I'm motoring on.
Come back to you.
Okay, so I think the most important and the most valuable new technology for all of us is artificial intelligence or AI powered assistants like Alexa. Hang on, I got to turn mine off because she's going to start getting on my case here. Okay, I have one right here. Alexa or Siri or Google. These are kind of a gateway to really technology assisted living, and I think they're incredible. At the very least, a home assistant like Alexa can be a voice interface to music, timers, radio, calling people, adding to grocery lists, and so on. It's just like Siri on your phone, except it lives on a table or a desk. But these systems get super interesting when you connect them to real world physical devices like lights or thermostats or TVs. And the easiest way to do this, and it's not that complicated, it's certainly not as complicated as it used to be, is to just buy lights or TVs that are advertised as compatible with your system. So if you have an Alexa device, you go to Amazon, you buy an Alexa compatible, smart light, and you follow the instructions when you get it. They're not that complicated. And again, I want to reinforce that setting up this stuff used to be a real science fair project. I've been experimenting with this stuff since I was a little kid, and now it's kind of so easy that it's not fun anymore. It's just you plug it in, you had a thing, and boom, it works. But that's just me. So that's for the basics. But then you get into things that do require a little bit more work because they require maybe some physical interactions, like a thermostat or a door lock or a security system with sensors, or a light switch on the wall as opposed to one that's just a light bulb. A lot of this work is not complicated. Most of these device systems come with really good all-encompassing instructions, but some of it requires, some electrical skills or power tools or something, and not everybody can do that. So setting up and maintaining this stuff is a business for some people. It's a hobby for some people. You can definitely hire a pros to get this thing done. I have found, as a side note, that I've hired electricians to do this work for me. And I found one eventually who was really good and knew how this stuff worked, but that was after going through 2 licensed electricians who didn't know the first thing about smart homes. So you really have to be sure when you hire somebody that they know how to deal with things like Zigbee and Z-Wave are 2 examples. If they don't know what Zigbee and Z-Wave are, they are not your smart home experts. My sister is going, well, I don't know what that is.
I don't know what Zigbee is. I don't have to know. I just have to know that they have to know it.
Exactly right. So, but there is one thing I want to talk about with this stuff, because this stuff gets super fun and interesting, and it's really cool to be able to, when you can't reach the remote, because God forbid you should walk across the room and pick it up from where it is, that you can just say, hey, Google or Alexa or Siri, turn on TV and tune to channel 4 or watch, Rachel Maddow or whatever it is. And it does it for you just with your voice. That stuff is magic. But it can go a little too far. And there's this issue that I want to talk about, which I call technology mismatch in smart devices. And that's when you have an appliance or something that's designed to last for a really long time, what we call white goods, right? A washing machine, a refrigerator. And it has built-in technology that is super cool today, but it's going to be obsolete in a year. And then you're stuck with this device that's designed to last 20, 25 years with, an Apple II built into it, which was a computer I used in the 80s. And my best example of this is smart refrigerators. And I hope there's nobody from Samsung or LG on the line here. I think it's really cool to have browser applications and this big screen built into your refrigerator, because the refrigerator, magnets has always been kind of the gathering place, and why not replace that with something cool and electronic? But I guarantee you that the browser on that thing is going to look old and clunky in a couple of years when technology has surpassed it. It'll be a home security nightmare in like 5 or 6 years when the thing isn't getting updated, and home network attacks are way more sophisticated. And it's likely to be completely unsupported and obsolete by the manufacturer long before the refrigerator stops working. That is a mismatch of the upgrade cycle between, white box appliances and technology. And I'm really nervous about this. I mean, I think if you want a computer in your kitchen, put a computer in your kitchen, but the computer is not a refrigerator and a refrigerator is not a computer. Now, that said, there are some of these things where some of this technology makes a lot of sense, and I think is really cool. There are washing machines and dryers right now that will send an alert to your phone when the cycle is done. And that's a really simple thing, and it's a smart device and it's technological. And why wouldn't you want that? And that's a little thing that I think is really cool. So when you're looking at these smart appliances or smart home stuff, I think you really have to look at how is this going to age, and is this basic technology going to feel old and clunky and make me feel like I have to replace it because it feels old. I mean, I've got a 25-year-old refrigerator, which is a refrigerator, and it still works, and it has nothing on it to remind me that it's a 25-year-old refrigerator. So other technology that I think is really interesting is smart watches, like Apple Watch, or some of the Google Android watches. I think a lot of them are super ugly, but literally they can be lifesavers. The latest Apple Watch can detect when you fall, just like those old pendants, right? Those old technologies. And when it does, if you set it up ahead of time, it will call your family. Some of them will even call 911 if you don't press things at the same time. iPhones will detect a car crash. And this is like the panic pendant or the iPhone that I can't get up advertisement that we were, fed, 20, 30 years ago. But now it really works. And this stuff is incredible. This technology is amazing. And if you have it on your wrist and it's voice activated, then no matter what, as long as you can speak, you can access help. And there's a lot to be said for that. Now, this does bring us to the problem of privacy. All the stuff I've talked about, all this technology. All these devices gather personal data to work. Location, what you say, and so on. And some of it can be really personal. And we have to make the decision as to whether or not we want to trust the company that is making this device with all that information. And it can be difficult to make that decision, especially if you don't fully understand it. And I know a lot of older people and a lot of younger people who are really smart don't trust this stuff for good reason. Because why do I want something in my house listening to my every word? Now, I've actually written about how wake words, when you say Alexa, for example, then the device wakes up. And you might think that it's listening and recording all the time, and it's not. But you could be forgiven to think that this thing is sending all my information, back to Jeff Bezos's, private lair. So it requires education, it requires trust, and it's a difficult decision to make for a lot of people. And I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that of all the companies that offer personal assistance, I would trust Apple the most and Facebook the least. And the reason is that Apple, there's two reasons. First of all, there's the technological reason, and then there's the business reasons, and they're interrelated. Apple builds a ton of safeguards into its devices and services that are privacy protecting, because they don't make as much money from breaking your privacy or from collecting your information as other companies do. Amazon, which makes Alexa, makes money by selling you stuff. And the more they know about you, the more they can recommend what to sell. So they want to understand you better to sell you more stuff. So they collect more information. And then Facebook and Google, they just flat out sell access to reach you to everybody else. Now, they don't say, I can't say I want to reach Eve and Facebook will sell me access to you, but I can say I want to reach women in this area at this age, at this income level, who have somehow expressed through their browser or Facebook behavior that they like Australian sheepdogs. And And Facebook and Google will sell you a way to reach just exactly those people. And if you don't want that, or maybe even more weird information about you getting out there, then you have to be careful about what you allow those services to collect about you. It's all a trade-off for convenience, but the convenience can be really high. That's kind of the end of the topics that I have listed here. I hope that's interesting to people and useful. And I've been studying technology for everybody for my entire career. So if anybody has questions about where we're going with technology-enabled architecture or LED lighting or anything like that, or privacy on this, or what Apple's up to, hit me up. I'm here.
Rafe, I must say, first of all, you had some great stuff to say, but when we were talking about the technology that's out there integrated with kitchen stuff, refrigerator, smart home, Alexa, even I sell this on our website, but Alexa is integrated in a lot more stuff than you guys could even imagine. They do toaster ovens, air fryers. I'm actually, I'm just going to go ahead. I put it in the chat so you guys can just open up the page and see. Your Alexa can work with anything from microwave ovens nowadays. You can get it all on Amazon, but it's kind of scary. But it's listening to you in a way.
What's really scary is that the Alexa enabled microwave that Amazon sells or sold, I don't know if they're still making it, is kind of unnecessary and not a very good microwave. So I hope you're not selling that on the site.
No, it's interesting how you can get a Hamilton, 12-cup coffee maker to work with Alexa. And you could just say, hey, Alexa, make me a 12-cup coffee. Obviously, load it with water and, coffee grinds. But the fact that it can do it for you is pretty cool.
And then
there's I have a faucet that has one of those touch on, touch off things like in airports and bathrooms, but it's my kitchen faucet. And there's an add-on for it that will let me say, Alexa, give me 3/4 of a cup of water. And it'll give you exactly 3/4 of a cup of water. I happen to think that is pretty freaking awesome, and I want that. Now it's expensive. It's like a $100 add-on to this sink, which was already expensive. So I'm waiting for the price to go down. But some of the stuff is really cool, and that's the trade-off. But in return, now Alexa knows exactly how much water I meter out.
If I may, my name is Terry, and I really appreciate this platform. One of my fears is that the advancement of technology is so fast that we're going to find ourselves in a position where we will be forced to have many of these type of devices in our homes, even if we don't want them, even if we don't trust them, even if we don't understand them. And that's just not seniors. But I believe that we're headed in that direction because more and more of our own rights are not being acknowledged. So many things are being forced on us just because it's the norm or just because it's the driving mechanism, for a great part of the economy at that time. And that's my biggest fear. It's going to be forced on us where we're going to have these things, whether we want them or not.
I worry about the affordability on that, Terry.
Well,
absolutely.
So to address both of those things, Terry, you raise a really valid point. And this is an area where legislation and society is behind the technology curve. We have, smart meters, electrical smart meters now that not just used to be that the electric company would send somebody out and they'd read your meter and they could tell you between this day and this day, 30 days later, how much electricity you used, and that's what you get billed on. Now we have smart meters in many places that tell you exactly how much energy you're using at exactly what time of day, and that's a lot more information than people are comfortable with. But there is a value to that in theory, which is that it lets the energy companies plan for time of day use, and theoretically anyway, help people save money by changing when they use their power. Now, I'm not sure that's a great thing, but it's not ungreen. As to the cost, this stuff is cheap. And the reason it's cheap is because it makes other people money. The reason you can get an Amazon Alexa device for, I don't know, $15 right now, considering the amount of the technology in it, which is freaking magic, that should not cost $15. That is like $1 million worth of technology that you can get in a little puck that you put on your desk. And the reason it's so cheap is because it makes Amazon money when you have one. So I'm not so concerned about the affordability as long as other people are making money from it. In fact, the cheaper the stuff is, the more I worry about it. Because there's a saying, I don't know if you've heard it, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. And if you look at the free services like Facebook and Twitter, at least up until Elon took it over, they're free and they're massively useful. How can any company provide to 2 billion people a service as interconnected, as complex, as intelligent, say all the stuff, bad stuff you want about it, as Facebook for free? And the reason is other people are paying to access you, and they're paying a lot, and Facebook is making a lot. Facebook should be paying us for this stuff. So that's a soapbox I don't think I want to get on right now. But.
Ellen Cameron, I think, had a question. Ellen, I know you raised your hand.
Yeah, sorry, I'm representing the COA in Lexington, Massachusetts. But you kind of answered my question. My biggest worry for seniors is affordability, because some of these things, if you're in a wheelchair and you're disabled of any sort and you can't reach a light, and you could just have a light go on with one of these products, it's fantastic. But a lot of people are on fixed incomes and can't afford it. Or on the other side, they don't trust, Alexa listening. So that's where we have some learning and trust and, affordability and things to come into place.
So those are two somewhat conflicting or interrelated, but they're different issues. Now, the affordability of these devices, including especially lighting and smart lighting, is dropping rapidly and will continue to drop. So if you don't want to spend $30 for a light bulb, wait 6 months and it'll be 20, and wait another and it'll be 10 or less. Seriously, the pricing on these on smart lighting in particular is dropping fast. LED lights used to be super expensive. Now they're super cheap and they last a lifetime. That's a really beneficial technology curve. LEDs plus smart. And like I said, the Alexa devices are super inexpensive, and they might even get cheaper, although I don't see how they get much cheaper than like $15 for an Echo Dot. The trust issue, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, there is a trade-off. I know my own father never trusted Alexa devices. I got him one for Christmas once, and he never installed it. He unplugged the damn thing. I installed it for him. He took it out. He didn't trust it. And that's a trade-off. And he didn't care about having to get up and flip on a light switch. But you do have to make the trade-offs with this stuff.
Yes, I agree. We don't have any Alexa product. I ask Siri sometimes the weather from across the room or to read me a text. But other than that, I'm still hands-on, knock on wood. But I don't have any of those things.
We know. But I also do know, it's great that you brought that up about the affordability. Again, there are places out there that if you are in the low income, they do have area on agency. They've got stuff out there for low income that they do have. There's also, I believe, with the telephone company, they also have a free service. There's also another free service where you can have a cell phone. And I don't recall who it's from, but when I do find out, and if you're interested, you could just hit us up on one of our network groups, because I'll find the thing for that. But there are places out there that do have them. They're not state of the art by any means, technology or products, but they will get you what you need if you need it, especially if you are a senior, low income, and can't get out of the house. They send it right to you. So it's really easy. And there, by the way, these types of services are in every state, every county, and every city. So we're happy to connect you with the right organizations for stuff like that.
Heather, thank you so much. I'm going to put my email in the chat. I'd love to hear more.
Okay. Just over from live on Facebook, Rafe, Vince said, same with the water meters. By the way, you were talking about the meters. The water meters are now also doing the electric water meters.
So one of the things I do want to say about this smart technology, especially energy related stuff, water, thermostats, lighting, is even if the upfront cost for an LED or a smart light bulb is a lot more than it used to be for a 39-cent incandescent light bulb, the amount of energy that you can save over the long term with modern technology is vast, and sometimes the investment is really worthwhile. Modern technology, and I include that not just lighting, but refrigerators, washing machines, anything that uses water, anything that uses electricity. Things are so much more efficient now, and with the energy prices rising, it can be really worth it to invest in slightly more expensive technology that will save you money and energy over the long term.
I was going to say, I remember the Roombas?
Yes.
So
they're still around.
Yeah, they're still around, but there was a point, correct me if I'm all wrong on this, but where it would map out your room, your house, like it would. Do you know what I'm talking about? Is
do.
that still a thing to worry about?
Some of them work by mapping, some of them work in a little more of a random fashion. I don't know if they share the map of the inside of your house and then share it with some dark net of burglars. But the one thing that brings up the one thing that really does concern me of technology, of surveillance technology, which is doorbells, video doorbells, especially Ring. There's been an ongoing struggle with Ring doorbells, and they're fantastically useful devices. You know, somebody presses a button, you can look at who's standing in your door and even talk to them because there's microphones and speakers. Or when you're away from the home, you can call up a video stream and see what is outside your front door. Ring has been trying to build a network of all the rings in a neighborhood or a city and let people see what's going on in their neighborhood, especially let police see what's going on in the neighborhood. And the access that has been granted to police with or without a warrant has been kind of a push and pull, a tug of war on how much access is granted, how much the owner of the Ring device has to give permission or not. It's been an ongoing thing. The Wirecutter, which is a New York Times publication, has been writing about this for quite a long time. And that is the area where I'm most concerned about privacy, is letting agencies without actual warrants view what's happening in a neighborhood or on a sidewalk because I happen to have installed a camera for my own personal security, and now they can access it 24/7 whenever they want. It's not necessarily that bad, but it's an ongoing issue that is still yet to be resolved.
Thank you so much, Rafe.
My pleasure.
For coming in. I'm sorry for that pause because I'm reading stuff that's going on Facebook as well. So it's pretty nice. I appreciate it. We've got people over on Facebook Live. And if you are on Facebook Live and you do have any questions, drop them in the chat and I'd be happy to ask Rafe for you. Rafe, so much information. It's great. Is there anybody else on this chat that would like to say anything to Rafe or any more questions?
I have a question. Do you have any good apps that are up and coming for older adults? Apps to help them age in place, some of the latest.
I got to tell you, this is going to sound goofy. My favorite app for aging in place is Uber and Lyft.
Okay.
You know, these things were because you go to your phone, you say, pick me up, take me there, and some nice person, hopefully in a car, comes and you don't have to drive. Now, these apps, that's been around forever, but I don't know these things. I think Uber and Lyft were made for people who are just a little bit sketch about driving, especially at night. And I freaking love those apps. I'm looking forward to using those as I age myself.
And also,
good,
Heather,
thank you.
you're pretty familiar with a social apps called Papa, with it.
I
It
don't know that
hooks up. Heather knows a little bit more about it, and it connects older adults with either volunteers or other older adults, gets them together, gets events going. So there's a lot of social apps that will help older adults stay connected.
There's also an app coming out. I can't remember which university, but they take the high school kids and the university kids, and they help seniors with tech. And it's another app. They follow us on one of our.
Is that care advocacy?
Care advocacy.
And there are a lot of things all over the place. Apps like that. There's something called a Mintro Friends that I came across. There's there are things that they'll set up dinner time so older adults that are solo agers can eat with other people, because
Wow.
studies show that you eat more and more nutritious food if you're with other people.
Yeah.
So that
So is there a list that we can get of those?
yeah.
Maybe we can write a blog or something on it, and then we'll have them all together.
Rafe, I have Nancy from Facebook Live said, can you just quickly speak about the scammer calls getting back?
Oh yeah. Oh, that is so evil. It's hilarious. So what
Nancy,
happened? So
thank you very much for reminding us.
yeah, what a great question. Okay, so as I said, when you are getting scammed, if you're on the phone call with somebody from Microsoft support and you're and they're trying to scam you out of your money, there's two things you can do. And one of the things you can do is hang up immediately. Okay. And the other thing you can do, which is the best thing you can do, because then it's like, well, that's a bad mark, and then move on to the next one on their list, and you go on with your day. The other thing you can do, because you're angry about somebody trying to scam you, is you can try to drag it out, or you can try to make them feel bad, or you can do whatever you can. You can take up their time, not give them anything what they're looking for, and just make the scammer angry. And what they can do is they can then program the phone number from where they're calling from to the next people to be your phone number. So people start calling you back and saying, why are you calling me and trying to scam me, you horrible, horrible person? And you're like, I didn't do anything, because they can manipulate the phone number that the call seems to be coming from. And then it's yours and you look like the scammer. And then you get all the crap coming back at you. That's how they can get back at you. It doesn't happen often, but that's just another reason to just hang up, disengage immediately. Do not deal with scammers. Your time is more valuable than that, and they know what they're doing.
You know, I
Right.
see this. It's funny you say that, because I actually saw one where there's a video. There's a guy who's like a tech guru. He's like
Yeah.
a total coder, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, the guy actually works for the FBI in scamming, but he scammed the scammer.
Oh yeah, there's famous people who do that. They get into the video cameras at their call centers. They tell them what they're wearing. That's advanced level reverse hacking.
Yes.
That's awesome.
But none of us are smart enough for that advanced level hacking, I'm sure. I appreciate it, Rafe and Eve. You want to finish out the call? But before we do, I do want to say I appreciate everybody coming and joining us. Amy Roberts, Eve Hill, and myself love bringing education and awareness and stuff to the senior market and to the aging in place market. So we appreciate everybody coming, and we are going to have more. So stay tuned. We're not going to talk to you about it, but we're going to be sending out social media. So just follow us on all of our social media, websites. Rafe, Eve, I'll let you finish it off. Go for it.
That's great. You did a great job. Thanks, Ray, for all those that information. Like you said, we recorded it, and we're going to post it on our YouTube channel at Customized Aging. We'll post the recording in the Aging in Place Network on Facebook, and we'll be seeing. I'll be seeing Rafe soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me just say, if you want to know more about how to interact with people using technology, go to my occasionally updated blog at callercallsback.com, where I write about stuff like this.
I'm going to have Eve go ahead and put that in the chat.
Actually did that at the beginning of the meeting, but I can put it in again.
Yeah.
I'll put it in again.
Yes, please.
Everyone in
I'm
Maine.
gonna do, and by the way, all of you on Facebook, I'm putting it into the chat box, so you guys have it over on Facebook as well.
Oh, that's a good idea. I didn't put it over
Mhm.
there.
I got it. I put it in Facebook, so all the people in the live can see it there too. I do have,
Stay
it's
tuned.
it's
for more.
8 o'clock here on the East Coast. And by the way, the best part about this group is we're from all over the United States. It's open to anybody and
Mhm.
anything,
Anybody?
anybody. So go ahead, let your friends know. But we've got more coming your way.
As we say, sharing resources with
Yeah.
older adults, their families, and professionals serving the senior market. Thanks, everybody, for coming, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.